Hey Doodlers, it's Karen Light, your Doodle Empress from How Doodle, here with another Doodle to Doing Burst to help you spark your creativity towards what you want to work on this week. So this Doodle to Doing is going to be inspired by the spirit of a doodle. And those of you who've worked with me before know what the heck I'm talking about, but those of you who don't, let me just show you what I mean by this. So let me share my screen here. Let's go to slideshow view. This is what I call the spirit of a doodle. Doodle, Doodle is just this lovely little character that does not care about your skill, does not care about your talent, doesn't care if you identify as an artist or not, doesn't care if you can draw or not, doesn't care how good or bad you are. Doodle is all about these things instead. Doodle wants you to relax and enjoy a process. It wants you to mess up and get in there and be silly and play around and know that you are a creative being with lots of beautiful ideas and insights of your own, and that you can apply towards anything, right? You can get in there and doodle about anything and come up with something fun. So here's what we're going to do today. I want you to read through these for a second, and I want you to pick the phrase that is jumping out to you the most today. So I'm going to be quiet for a second. All right, hopefully you got it. And I want you to take whatever phrase is jumping out to you and just write it for a second on your doodle pad, on your scrap piece of paper, whatever it is that you are doodling on today. So I'm going with leave room for surprise. That's what I got, and I got it on here now. All right, so write it down for yourself. And now that you've got that, I want you to close your eyes. Take a lovely, nice, deep, slow, juicy breath in, the longest one you've taken all day. Feeling it fill you all the way up and slowly releasing it. Just enjoying how it feels to stop and breathe for a second. As we stop and breathe, as we make nice long breaths all the way into our stomach, we tell our brain it is okay, we can relax now. And the more we relax, the more our inspiration and creative faculties come online, the more our brain is working for us. So yes, enjoy a nice little pause. And now bring to mind that phrase you wrote down. Mine was leave room for surprise. What was yours? What do you start picturing as you think about that phrase? What do you picture? Whatever it is that you picture, I want you to open your eyes and do just a minute doodle here, inspired by whatever you imagine there. Okay, it doesn't have to look exactly like what was there. Just let it be inspired by it. Let's see what happens, right? Mine's leave room for surprise anyway. Go with whatever the first thing is that popped into your brain. Don't overanalyze it. It doesn't have to be the most clever thing that ever existed. We're just gonna see what happens when we doodle about it for a few minutes. Not even a few minutes, just like a minute. And as you're doodling, you might get some new ideas. Like you might think you're starting off doodling one thing, but then you start to doodle and you're like, kind of looks like this. Or it reminds me of this, and now I want to do that. Go ahead, let yourself do that. There's no rule here. Some of you might have picked that one. Doodle says no one to break the rules, right? So you're just letting it evolve as you doodle for another minute or so. No, mine's evolving, it's changing. Doesn't have to be glorious. Just something simple as you think about that phrase. Last seconds here. I think I'm picking out every single color in here. All right, finishing up. All right, so now you get to look at your doodle and say, hey, doodle, what do you want to share with me? Just assuming that it has something really wonderful to share about this phrase that you picked. So mine was leave room for a surprise. And the first thing I saw or thought about, of course, was like opening a present. Surprise, what's inside? And as I started to doodle here, what started to happen was these like green lines turned into these flowers. And then on the flowers became these butterflies. And so I think, when we leave room for surprise, one of the first things that's coming up for me is we allow ourselves the opportunity to grow more organically. It's not so forced. It can be a little bit more free flow, and it can happen in interesting ways that we might not have anticipated before. And when we get more and more comfortable with that, it's very transformative. Butterflies make me think of transformation. I mean, they start off as these little caterpillars, right? And then they go into some goo state, and then they become these beautiful butterflies. So that's super cool. That's like transformation. And in particular, I think of like more like feminine transformation, which is maybe following intuition and trusting that things are going to unfold in a fun way for me is what allows me to leave room for surprise, to see what's going to happen next. So I hope that whatever you doodled gave you some cool messages as you look at it. And maybe you might want to rip this out and stick it up for your week so that you can really embrace the spirit of a doodle as you go about achieving those goals that are so important to you. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again in our next burst.